Hiya, I'm Eve. I work at Arts for Health doing art therapy. Today we're doing an art therapy video. So our process today is going to be using watercolor. So we're going to be doing a watercolor process where we think about distance and closeness. So we're going to be painting some different pages of different colors watercolor, then we're going to cut those out and layer them up and do an exploration of what's far and what's close to us. Materials that you're going to need for this process, obviously watercolor and paintbrushes and water, but if you don't have watercolor you can try and use felt tip markers and add some water to those to blend them. Then for cutting you're gonna need some glue and scissors, you're gonna need some paper to paint on, and that's that. So the general idea today is that we're going to use layers to help us explore what's far from me and what's close to me and apply that to ourselves and do a reflection. So what's the first step today? The first step is actually to go to a door or a window or step outside and find what's the furthest thing that I can see. So from where I am, I can actually see out a window, and far, far away there are some hills. So that's the furthest thing that I can see. Then I'm going to give myself a little moment. I'm just going to breathe and notice all the layers from me all the way to that hill. So there's a door, there's a hedge, there's lots of different hedges and trees, and then I can far, far away see some blue hills. So those are the layers that I can notice between me here and the hills far away. So what can you notice between where you are right now, or where you are at a door or a window, and the thing that is the furthest away? So that's step one. The next step is to hold that idea of distance and closeness just in the back of your mind and start to focus on watercolor. So you're going to get 3 or 4 pages, they could be A3 or A4, totally up to you, and you're going to cover them as much as you want in some watercolor. So there are no rules about this. You could use all of one color, or you could mix different colors. You could do it very complicated and intricately, or you could do big brush strokes with lots of water to allow the color to spread. Okay, so I'm going to get myself set up, and then I'm going to do some painting, fill my pages with different colors. Then after that I'll come back and I'll show you what I've done, and we'll let it dry before we start to cut it up. Okay, so I've painted my pages and they've now dried, so I'll just show them to you. I've got a yellowish one, a bluish one, a greenish one, and a reddish one. So I've obviously done them in slightly separate colours on each page, but you don't have to do that. You could blend any colours that you like on your page. It just felt right to me to have slightly reddish and then bluish and then yellow and green all separately. So remember, follow what feels right for you. The next step now is to cut these up into layers that we're going to layer up against another page and glue down. So let's do that. Okay, so I've cut my pieces out, I've layered them up, I've glued them down. The next step is to use some more watercolor and draw an image or an object that's close to you in the image and an object that's far away from you in the image. So that's the next thing we're going to do. So here's my image. So some things that I noticed as I was working and since I've been reflecting. The first thing that I noticed the whole time as I was painting was all about the blending of different colours. So that's the nature of watercolour, that it flows together as we said, but I had a strong attention on the way that, say, this yellow blends with the blue in the background and how they mixed. So a lot of my attention was on the material and the way that two elements were blending together and how I could work with that. So that was very experimental and playful and enjoyable for me. Another thing that I put a lot of attention on, actually as I came towards the end, was the complexity of the image. So the layers invite complexity and lots of different things happening. And I really paid a lot of attention to that. So I had the hills, I've got this sort of sunset happening in the background, there's a big raised up cloud of some kind, there's something poking up like some cliffs in here. We also have something a little bit deserty, so there's water and desert and hills and then something close to us as well. So of course lots of layers is the idea, but I paid a special attention to all the complexity of the story and the narrative that was happening because of all the layers, and I really did enjoy working with that and figuring out how I wanted it all to fit together. So it's been quite fun being able to go, oh, I'd like a cliff here, and make that happen. Oh, I'd like a desert. Oh, I wonder what this desert is about, and make the story and make the layers move as I chose them. So your image, you don't have to add objects or creatures in if you don't want to, but it turned out that I added two animals. So I've got a little rabbity creature here, and then I've got a bird far away in the distance there. So what I noticed was that the animal and the creature that was far away was very free. Okay, there's nothing that can hold him down. This is a bird that can move anywhere it likes. It can fly up high, down low. It can travel across this whole image. And I enjoy having that there. I enjoy that freedom. And then this creature, it's a rabbit. It's probably not quite as powerful as the bird. It doesn't have quite the same amount of freedom, though it can go anywhere in these layers. It has to be a little bit more careful, and it's a bit more stuck on the ground because it can't fly. The different creatures and the different strengths and weaknesses that they have, and I really like the way they kind of are almost looking at each other across this big landscape. I like the fact that it's close to me here and this feels safe and cozy, and I also enjoy looking out across this land. So it made me very aware of what is close to me and what is far away from me, and how I could travel, or this creature could travel, between all these different layers and get to the furthest away distance that it could. So some overall themes that really stood out to me were of course about the layers, but that made me think a lot about the steps we take to get from one place where we are right now to another place in our future or in the distance. and all the layers and all the stories and the journeys that it takes for us to get here. And I like the fact that I've acknowledged that sometimes we feel like a little rabbit or a little creature, and sometimes we feel free and powerful and able to go anywhere. I like the change between the present and the future that's here, and I like the way that there's so much story, acknowledging my story in my life, the way I've journeyed, and where I might go in my future. So those are some things that have stood out to me. I hope you really enjoyed this process. I hope you give it a go. Join us next time. Thank you.